from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have plenty coming up on today's broadcast. It is my honor and my privilege inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' to be welcoming an all-new Bobcat Buzz in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Bryant and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse head baseball coach Shawn Peake heading into year number 3. So a lot of great stuff coming up here where sports meets life. We're going to be talking about going into year 3. We're also going to be talking about his Yankees and the World Series. Then we'll get into, in hour number 2, our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University, and that will take us to the Binghamton Bearcats women's soccer field, as we will have a discussion with Neel, Bhattacharjee, the head coach of the Binghamton Bearcats women's soccer program, as they have one more game coming up on Halloween before they head into the postseason, and they're going to be hosting that postseason quarterfinal inside of the America East on Sunday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. on site on campus. So a lot of great stuff coming up, and of course we'll always round out the show on a Tuesday with the ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's. We'll be at Avicolli's tonight as well at 5:30 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you out at Avicolli's, as I will have the opportunity to continue the soccer conversation with Paul Bonus and his Liverpool Warriors boys soccer team. So a lot of great stuff coming up, and I do want to give a very special thanks to last night to West Genesee football and to Joe Corley and everybody that showed up, and to the entire team. And I also recognize the fact that when I was there and I was setting up, there were kids on the team, student athletes, that walked up to me not knowing who I was and put their hand out and shook my hand and said, hey, thank you for doing this today. Great to see you. So I definitely appreciate the manners, and I appreciate the kindness. I appreciate all the words from Joe Corley last night as well, and really am thankful for that. And I'm going to start the show off before we bring Shawn on. I'm going to say a quick prayer because my little one, Miss Lily, is at the vet right now. So I'm going to say a quick prayer because I know that the world needs many, and I know that she could take one. So, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, I pray to you today that you help us all to heal completely and to heal for good, and that we heal no matter what through you and handle well whatever comes our way, in and out of our control. May we not try to make things happen, but may we let things happen. May we trust in your plan, and may we allow you to guide us toward what you want for us and guard us from what you don't. And may we listen to that. Please help for Lily to have a successful surgery, a procedure today. May everything go well with her completely, mind, body, heart, and soul. May everything be good with her teeth and her mouth, and may she be able to play with her toys and eat her food and do all the things she wants to do and have fun and have a better health than she's ever had. May she come out better than she went in. May we all do that. And for everything that we suffer from today, everything we worry about, just guide us and guard us to be at peace, to take a breath of fresh air, and to trust in your process and trust in your word. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. With that being said, it's time to bring on Mr. Peake as he joins me picture in picture for this all-new Bobcat Buzz with the Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse head baseball coach heading into year number 3, as well as talking about the World Series. Mr. Peake, how we doing?
Good morning, Danny. How we doing, man?
I'm doing well, and you and I were talking about it off the air, which is why we were a couple minutes back here, but you're a diehard Yankee fan, and this has been anything but easy to watch and anything but not stressful. How have you navigated through these first 3 games, knowing that the Yankees have had themselves a good season, but right now it seems like they're allowing the Dodgers to dictate the pace?
Yeah, it's definitely been tough to get a grip after taking 3 losses now. It's something that wasn't expected. I guess definitely wasn't expected. I thought we were gonna, games were gonna be a little bit differently, and there's been when it comes down to the postseason, the World Series, when it's little things in the game can go, kind of swing the games one way, and that's what's kind of been happening. Little things kind of added up and become big things,
Yeah.
and that's playoff baseball, and that's what's going to happen right there. And the Yanks really aren't getting it done right now.
Yeah, I mean, what do you put it to? I mean, I've had some thoughts on what I've seen, but when you're watching the Yankees, what are they doing that they weren't doing during the season that's affecting them right now?
Yeah, honestly, at times it almost looks like they're not having fun right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you're not having fun and doing the things you're used to doing, I guess that's probably what you're. I'm not used to. I don't think any judge is definitely not used to him not hitting.
Yeah.
When kind of it all falls behind him and falls with him, and you can't put it on one person. Obviously, it's everybody. I mean, last night, you can't walk people and give up free bases, and you have to play defense and run the bases the right way, and do all the little things right. And right now, it's not all there. It looks like that week off kind of was a week off of baseball.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, it seems like they're just not having fun, and it's interesting how so many times when I do the show, the tagline for Wake Up Call is where sports meets life. And yesterday I found the parallels, and today I'm finding the parallels of, not just in baseball, but really in anything, Shawn. If you're in something, and I was having this conversation recently, when you're in something and like you progress forward with it, like, it could be sports, could be anything in life, and you're doing well, like you get into something, you're just being yourself and things go well, and you get to like that next level, and then it's like you've never done it before, and you're like, wait, how did I do this? How did I get here? What am I supposed to do? What can you say to that effect? Because, I mean, it could be baseball, it could be a relationship, it could be something that you're working on in a project, but there's this reality of you get there just by not thinking, and then we see teams do it, we see people do it, where like you got to this place and you did it effortlessly by being who you are, and then all of a sudden the overthinking comes in.
Yeah, I mean, baseball. I mean, it's more of a mental game than it is almost physical sometimes, anyways. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, it could easily be something that just takes over, and body it doesn't function with the mind right now, and that's kind of how I kind of see some of maybe that's what's going on a little bit. That they're just not used to doing what they're doing right now, and it's not making sense to them almost, and it's the mental isn't really there for some reason right now, and not that I'm sure it is, and I'm picking at whatever I can, I guess, and I'm a typical Yankee fan, I guess.
Yeah.
But I just I don't know what necessarily they're doing right now, but it's something that doesn't seem like it's the same mentality that it's been all year.
So, if you were Aaron Boone right now, what would you say to the Yankees if you're sitting there in the clubhouse with them? What's your words for them?
You got to win one at a time. There's really not. I mean, he honestly kind of said it already. There's really only thing you can focus on is winning one.
Yeah.
Because if you win one, you still have a shot. After that, you don't. So you got to just go get one.
Yeah, and I think again, going back to life, they say don't live ahead. Be where your feet are at.
Mm-hmm.
Win the day, and there's people that look down the road. You as a coach, do you? I mean, obviously you plan for the future and whatnot, but do you ever struggle with like you're looking down the road, you're looking at this, you're looking at that, or do you allow yourself to go game by game? Do you kind of say like, I'm focused on today's practice, I'm focused on today's game, I'm focused on the recruits that I'm dealing with today? Can you bring yourself to the present?
Yeah, I mean, we have to here, honestly. You got to do a lot. You got to wear a lot of hats. Got to do a lot of things. So at the same time, yeah, I know what my schedule looks like in February and March, but right now I got to be where I'm at. and just be in the moment and be, you know, exactly kind of where I'm going. You know, I want to, you know, try to think about too much in the future and be like, okay, you know, that's where I have to be. And, you know, thinking, yeah, I want to, you know, I obviously have, you know, thoughts and plans in my head and everything like that, but I want to live in the moment, be in the moment, and try to just be where I'm at. Always want to be where my feet are.
Yeah. How did you get to that point in your life?
It's kind of over time, I guess. You know, you get there eventually, or you don't, or you do. I don't even know if I am fully there, but I try to be in the moment as much as I possibly can. Wherever I'm at, I try to be there.
So when you look at being in the moment, what have been some of those favorite moments for you in these first 2 years?
Ooh, I mean, the first win is definitely going to always be the big one. That was just a special, crazy day. And then just the bonds and the relationships that, you know, you build with these guys, and everyday little things. Even just a few minutes ago, these guys a couple of them just walked out of a classroom or something like that, and just, I don't know if you could even hear it. He knocked on the window real quick. I think it was DJ and TJ. I don't even know who it was, honestly. But they just knocked on the window and wanted to be goofy real quick.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, when you build these relationships, I mean, you and I have sat with the guys, and you know, we've spent time, and there's a lot of emotion that comes through this, and you have this very genuine emotion. You know, you have this care, and you could see it. You could see it in your eyes. You can hear it in kind of how you talk about people, and it comes through. What I'm essentially trying to say is it seems like you're building a very genuine program. It seems like you're building a program based in relationships, based in care, based in the fact that like this really is a family, and that you're trying to build something that is a forever thing. So I'd love for you to go a little bit more into that, because you're a coach that has a lot of purposeful action and words, and I feel like that shouldn't go unnoticed.
No, that's definitely what we're trying to build here, of you know, caring about each other. Actually, like, you know, I think we have a really special group right now, of a lot of good people, actually care about each other. They go do a lot together. I think that's what I really like about the group this year. I haven't really had to, you know, push them to go do a lot of things off campus or like be together, where I feel like maybe a little bit last year I had to kind of push them to say, hey, you know, go kind of do things together or drag them to do stuff together. Where this year it's like they've already gone and done it pretty much without me, which I love. That's what they're doing. That's what you know, the team has to be the bond and, you know, by themselves and have that special thing within the group. And I just think we have a special group of people. I mean, like you said, you've met some of them. You know, we have new faces, and that those people that are, you know, have been around for a while. Dylan, Alex, DJ, you know, they've been around for a little bit now. Those are the guys that are kind of pulling everybody along and saying, hey, you know, let's go do things and just make that special bond between them.
Yeah, you know, and that bond, that connection here in year 3, like you said, you don't have to like try to get people to do things together. They just want to do things together. Do you feel like this unit, like this student athlete group that you have for year 3, how would you describe kind of what this is? I mean, because you're trying to make sure that you have, you know, obviously good baseball players, but you want people to go to school. You want people to, you know, make sure that they do what they need to do academically. And at the same time, you want to have good character people. And you have worked through a lot of things over the first couple of years. So where are we right now? What can you say about like this makeup?
I think this is a very, very good group. Honestly, I do. I really think this is where we have some very good people, that are going to be special together. And I think we can do something these guys want to work hard. I don't have to push them to work hard. They are honestly, in the weight room, it's been kind of a thing lately. Where some of these guys even know it. People have been stopping and watching them while they're doing their lifts, and when they're throwing around weights and on the squat rack and doing some different stuff. It's kind of it's noticeable to me when everybody else in the room is watching all of the guys kind of do their thing. And when there's 10, 12 people just stopping and watching, it's kind of noticeable. And it's like, all right, yeah, let's kind of get after it. It's fun. It's fun getting, having that competitive spirit, even when we're just kind of, we play basketball together. We do kind of like, lifting, running, whatever we got to do, and to get them prepared right now. And I don't have to really push them to, hey, we got to do 10 more things after we just did 20, because why not? And that's what they want to keep doing. And that's where, if it's going to continue to be like that, I feel like it could be a very good thing.
Here with Shawn Peake in this edition of the Bobcat Buzz and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse, with the head baseball coach heading into year 3. The roster to, you and I talked about a few months ago that essentially Syracuse is becoming Atlanta North or Georgia North. And so what can you say about the roster, what it looks like now as far as local, Georgia, other places, just what this roster is?
Still a little bit of everything. Definitely still a little bit of everything. We definitely have it's probably like 50-50 from like local-ish to Atlanta. I mean, technically, I guess Alex lives in Florida now, but yeah, a lot of Atlanta guys, a couple more coming even for the spring, a couple more guys coming for, a little bit here and there. But yeah, we're definitely spread out from here and there. Definitely spread out.
So that Atlanta connection that, some of the guys come in from Atlanta, they call their friends, they say, hey, you got to come over here and play and whatnot. We talked about this the last time we sat down. Bring me into that. Like, how much is coming from Atlanta? How much is coming from Georgia? Because, we joke Atlanta North, but also not. I mean, this has become a bridge to you. It's an open opportunity for you to really have that connection with that talent over the years. So how much is coming from Atlanta and the Georgia area, and how vital do you think it is to keep that bridge as far as the talent that's down there?
I think it's going to be huge, honestly, to keep growing these guys. And like I said, there's a couple more coming from there that want to join up. A couple of these guys have already did exactly what you said. They called their buddies and said, hey, come on up, let's go. A couple guys are going to be transferring from, schools or, that, they're at different spots here and there and want to have an opportunity to play. And that's what we're, all about here. If you were looking for an opportunity to play and, they're a good person, like we continue to talk about, then I'm always open to it.
So when you talk about that good person element, I got asked the question yesterday when I was at the Wildcat about collegiate athletics. And obviously you don't fall under the NCAA at Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse. You're in the USCAA, which is probably better for you guys because the NCAA just consistently doesn't make sense. So when you look at, I got asked a question yesterday about collegiate athletics and about NIL and the transfer portal and all this stuff. And I want to paint my picture and then tell you why I did it. So I got asked the question about, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I got asked the question of, what's my take on the current climate and what it looks like. And I said, first and foremost, in my opinion, I think that student athletes should make something in that NCAA atmosphere. I think they should make something. And because the NCAA is a non-for-profit, they say, and it's a billion-dollar industry, and it doesn't exist without the student athletes, and a lot of the student athletes will never get to play their sport in college or in professionally. So to me, this is their time to make their money on their name. So I feel that there should be something. I also feel like transfer portal, because of things that happen with schools and whatnot, and you want to be close to your family, something happens, whatever, that there should be an opportunity to move back and forth. The issue is that NIL, when you open it up for the right reasons, anything that can be used for a good reason can be used for a bad reason. And people say, what do you mean anything? And I say, well, think of a toothpick. You use it to pick something out of your teeth. You use it to pick up an hors d'oeuvre. You can also poke somebody with it. So there's even something as simple as that. And so name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, I said, listen, used correctly, it's okay. But the issue that I'm finding in today's society when it comes to this stuff is we are not teaching personal responsibility. We're not teaching constructive criticism. Kids are running from criticism. Kids are running from competition. They're running from responsibility. They're running from academics. So from the outside looking in, not being in the NCAA, how do you view what's happening to the youth in college, and how appreciative are you that the USCAA is not falling under this very chaotic model?
No, I mean, it definitely helps a little bit. Definitely helps a little bit over here. But I think we hold our guys to some pretty high standards here as well, as a school, as a whole, as a team, as everything. I mean, even after we get done here, I got study hall with the guys at 10:30. So I'm like I said, we wear a lot of hats, and we hold our guys, to a very high standard of what we need and what they need done, and how we need to operate. I know I think we do a pretty good job here of what we're trying to accomplish, and holding them to higher academic standards and all that kind of stuff as well.
So what do you think about the NCAA and where things are at right now? The kind of wide open free agency. You can be on 4 teams in 4 years or 5 teams in 4 years. I mean,
It's
can,
interesting.
and the money. I mean, how do you look at this from the outside? This kind of wide open field with no parameters, no stuff. I mean, essentially putting a farm on a cliff, and you got a bunch of animals, but you have no fences. So there's a chance they could fall off the cliff. There's a chance that you're going to have to chase them every night because you can't keep them within a fence that you don't have. So how do you look at what's going on in the NCAA?
It's interesting. It's definitely been interesting for the last few years. It's all new to everybody, obviously. But I wish I got paid like that. I played in the NCAA. I wish I got paid like that. Like a lot of these guys are getting. But hey, if my jersey is getting sold like that, I would want something like that too. But that's kind of the nature of the beast. I feel like where almost society is, and that's where it is right now. That these guys are going to get paid. They're if you're that good and your people are watching you on TV, it's like they're professional athletes at a certain point. We all go to big time sporting events. We're talking about the World Series, but these guys are, when it comes down to like March Madness, that's one of the biggest times of the year. The World Series and March Madness are huge. We're watching these college athletes that sometimes never make the professional ranks at all, and we're watching them do their thing, and I guess that's how they're making their money now. And where sometimes in the past, that guys have incredible careers in college, then they fall off or get hurt or do something like that, and you're never going to hear about them ever again because that's just how it is. So it's definitely an interesting state and interesting take on where things are, but I guess that's kind of where they are. It's hard to say exactly like, pick out one thing and say, that's where exactly I think it is, because it's so many things. It's such a crazy time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the USCAA, for those that don't know, like, how would you describe kind of this model that Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse is under?
USCAA, United Small College Athletic Association, it's been great. Honestly, it's a lot of flexibility. It's a lot of we're Division One, so we're still playing. You know, we can play a lot of people. We have flexibility to play anybody. We could literally walk in if Syracuse had a baseball team. We could walk over there and play them. You know, we can play any junior college we want. We can have the flexibility in our schedule. You know, we're not necessarily in a conference right now, but we have, you know, like I said, a flexibility to do those things, to play pretty much whoever we want and get the games in that we need to get the games in. Where I know our soccer teams are just finishing up. I guess the lights just went out on me in the back here. Our soccer teams are just finishing up, you know, getting ready to go in the nationals, and they're looking like they're going to be, you know, another national powerhouse, you know, and ready to go. So I think I really, you know, it's appreciative of how USA operates, and I really think it's a good model.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you can play anybody. So, I mean, what can you tell us about the schedule that's coming up here for the baseball team in year 3?
We're not completely finalized yet. Well, I guess we're on motion lights now, but we're not completely finalized yet. But that's just because we got to figure out a couple dates, how to switch some things around with a couple teams. You know, games get canceled, conference games get scheduled with other guys, and this and that. So we're looking at it's a 28 to 30 schedule right now. Maybe add a couple more here and there. And first one we open up is February 28th. So, of course, we're going to be playing in the winter.
Yeah, you know, and when, I mean, as far as for you, the setup for everything, the practice and the facility that you go to and the things that you get to do, now in year 3, what's changed? What's evolved? What's gotten better as far as, you know, this is where we practice, this is what we do, this is how we deal with inclement weather and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Just bring me into that.
It's definitely, I'll say, adapted. We still kind of use some of the similar facilities where our 2 indoor facilities that we mainly go to. Those are still going to be our main spots. We go to Perfect Practice. We go to CNY Baseball Academy. You know, Perfect Practice has been a huge amenity for us. That's the one thing, and I'll say that's kind of the biggest thing for us of when we need to adapt. They have been so great for us to just, hey, yep, it's open, go ahead, walk on it, go ahead over there, do what you guys got to do. Especially in the winter, you know, it's going to be raining, snowing, doing whatever it's got to do. And if we have an outside practice, obviously we can't be practicing in the snow. So we have to adapt and go on inside and do it wherever we need to go. And Perfect Practice, they've been awesome for us in having that ability for when we need to do things, we just kind of hop on over there. And, you know, either hop in the van, boys hop in their cars, do whatever we got to do, and we just get after it.
Yeah, you know, I know Perfect Practice has been really good to you, and I appreciate the work that they've done. We're going to take a quick step aside with Shawn. When we come back, we're going to have more to discuss on this Bryant Stratton College baseball team here in Syracuse, and we're going to spin back to the World Series and force this Yankee fan to talk about what's going on. We'll be back right after this. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes, are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality, and I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really in large part changed that value system for employees, so they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are picture-in-picture in this edition of the Bobcat Buzz and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Bryant Stratton College Syracuse and the Bobcats. We are here with Shawn Peake, the head baseball coach heading into year 3, and we'll be talking about a bunch of things here before we finish up this morning with Shawn, and then he gets over to study hall with the guys. So this year 3, like you said, you're finalizing the schedule, but you said 28 to 30 games, which I love hearing that. That's a full season right there. That's a really good. I mean, putting it together, and I know it's not finalized, but putting this thing together, year 1, year 2, you're trying to find teams to play. You're trying to build relationships or whatnot. It seems like when you talk about 28 to 30 games, that here in year 3, that things are maybe becoming a little bit easier, more connections have been made, more opportunities that are there. How would you describe assembling the schedule in year 3 as opposed to 1 and 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gotten a little bit easier. You make the relationships and, you say like, all right, hey, even like playing somebody last year, it's kind of after the games you play each other and, me and coach will have each other's phone numbers and kind of keep in contact that way. But once it's kind of mutual respect thing at the end of the game where, hey, well, all right, well, guys, we'll do this again next year kind of thing. And, it makes it kind of nice and easy and simple and like, hey, let's actually try to figure out some games and stuff like that. And, just reaching back out to the same guys and, new people, and they put me in contact with new people, new opportunities arise. We've been fortunate to have that happen and build the schedule a little bit more.
Yeah. And for you, I mean, the excitement that you have in assembling this, can you give us any type of look into anything in this schedule that you're really excited about that you can leak?
I mean, me personally, I like traveling a lot. I like being on the road. I like, staying in the hotels, hanging out with the guys, doing the, the road trips, doing the team dinners, that kind of stuff. That's always a big bonding part of it for them, especially as well. I get to hang out with my assistant coaches and stuff like that, but it's a big team bonding thing for them to experience new places. We're going to some new places that I've never been. Some different spots in Pennsylvania where we didn't get to go last year. We're playing the same teams or similar teams, but we got rained out and snowed out a couple of times, so we're going to a different fields now. So different places that we're going to be staying and doing different things, traveling a little bit further here and there sometimes. So I'm just excited to get on. I'm just excited for the season. I'm ready for that. That's all. I'm ready to go and just to see the guys experience new things, and really that's the best part of it to me.
And family is very important to you, right? Building the family that you have and having the family that supports you. What can you say to that effect? Your inner circle, your people that you lean on.
No, it's huge. It's huge. It's huge for me. It's huge. It's they're a lot. They're a lot for me. They do a lot for me. Dad's just one of the assistant coaches. Those are those are the little things where we have to make sacrifices for each other. We do a lot for each other. No matter what, that's always going to be family first. That's the biggest thing.
Love it. So let's jump back into the Yankees. As your season gets set to begin, their season, no matter what happens, is going to be concluding as you're ramping up. Game 4 is tonight. It could be the end of the World Series. It could be the continuation of another game in the Bronx on Wednesday. And no matter what, I mean, there's plenty of games that are left, but they have to win tonight. Have the Yankees given you any sign in the first 3 games, despite the frustration, that they can actually win Game 4 in the Bronx?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's going to come down to, got to pitch, right? We got to pitch and hit. Absolutely. They've done it all year. So, right. Judge is going to be the MVP of the American League. And he's not hitting right now. Soto could easily be the MVP also. He has been hitting. Stanton's been on a tear. Everybody's kind of doing their own little thing here and there. Rizzo, wish he didn't have 2 broken fingers, but he's still getting hits. So it's just kind of coming down to baseball. A lot of it is just baseball is a fun game. That's why it's a weird game. It's why it's a hard game. It's why I think it's the hardest. But hey, I'm a little biased there, I guess. But I do. I think they definitely still got a shot. I'm not going to count them out. They won a lot of games this year. You can't just count. The 2 best teams are in the World Series for a reason. And you can't count anybody out at this point. Even though it is 3-0, you got to just go win one.
And it's interesting because when it comes to winning a series down 3-0, it's never happened in the NBA. It's happened 4 times in the NHL, and it's only happened 1 time in Major League Baseball history. And that was the Red Sox against the Yankees in 2004.
And that guy's sitting in the Dodgers dugout too.
Yeah. So, that has been really, that's it. So the Yankees looking to make history. When you look at their lineup, Gleyber Torres, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Jazz Chisholm, Anthony Volpe, Anthony Rizzo, Jose Trevino, Alex Verdugo, and so on and so forth. When you look at who the Yankees are, because there's so much emphasis on, well, when the Dodgers get up to bat, you got Mookie and you got Freeman and you got Shohei and da-da-da. But on the Yankee side of it, Torres to start things off, then Soto, then Judge, then Stanton, then Chisholm, then Volpe. And, to me, do the Yankees get enough, in your opinion, do the Yankees get enough credit for their lineup? I understand the bats have been not as loud as people want them to be, but when I see those names in succession, I'm going,
right. I
understand that people are like, well, look at what the Yankees have to go up against, but don't the Yankees have a nice lineup as well?
I think so. I believe they do. I do think that the Dodgers might be a little bit deeper right now. I'll say maybe their bench pieces. Having an extra couple guys that are big thumpers that can kind of come off the bench, where I don't necessarily think that Jose Trevino is, yes, he's a great hitter. Every single one of these guys are Major League Baseball players. They're all great players. I'm never going to knock them like that. I think playing Major League Baseball has got to be the hardest thing in the world. And these guys are literally playing in the World Series. So they're doing something right for themselves. There's certain spots where, guys are kind of mixing and matching in the postseason, and we don't really make a lot of moves. It's kind of like, all right, here's our guys, and this is what we roll out. And because it is that they are stars, and we have a lot of deep in the lineup. Yeah, maybe not at the full end, but I still think it is, you know, where if Rizzo's hitting 5th to 7th, that's still Anthony Rizzo. That's still impressive. And if Volpe is, you know, he's still young. Austin Wells had an amazing year. If he's hitting 8th, like he was, you know, last night, or Trevino's hitting 8th, that's not a bad 8-hitter. And then Verdugo comes up and he's hitting in the 9 hole. That's not a bad 9-hitter either. So it's hard to, you know, say they don't have this or they don't have that when they're in the World Series and they've done it all year. So it's just a matter of getting the job done, I guess.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, like you said, I mean, there's something to be said about the matchup that they create for other teams with so much emphasis on the Dodgers, but looking at the fact that, you know, here we are with the Yankees having the type of depth that they have, even though it might not necessarily be coming through. I have a question I just put up on X, on the former Twitter, and that question that you can all go vote in by following me at CallDT, that's CALLDT, is the question I'm going to ask Shawn in a moment. Who's been better this season, Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani?
I kind of thought about this yesterday. If they were back in the American, if he was still in the American League, who would be the MVP if this was like the same thing? I don't really know. I think, honestly, I think Judge would have still gotten it. But it's so impressive either way. But I mean, I'm going to just be biased and say Judge.
What is it about Aaron Judge that makes you say it?
They're both just a star in their own way, but like, I don't know, just the way Judge goes about it. You know who the Yankee captain is. You know who runs the clubhouse. You know who runs the show. You know, I'm obviously Aaron Boone's the manager, and you know, and everybody that runs the, you know, the whole team and everything like that. But it seems like at the end of the day, they really know who the big dog is for a reason, and that's Aaron Judge. And when you're doing that in New York, yes, I know it's LA as well, but when you're doing it in New York, it does seem to be a little bit different. And just the way he goes about himself, he still has that stoic kind of presence about him, and he's almost like another Derek Jeter. You know what I mean? They're both going to be on their way to the Hall of Fame, and you know, Shohei's obviously going to be in the Hall of Fame. Him and Judge are both going to. Maybe they go in together someday. That's how great they both are. But like I said, I'll just be a little bit more biased and say Judge.
Early voting, literally, it just went out a minute ago. It's 50-50. Ohtani and Judge right now. And I'm not surprised.
Like I said, hopefully they go in the Hall of Fame together.
Yeah. And what's your advice to Aaron Judge right now?
Keep your front hip closed. That's all I can see. Your front hip's going left, and your body's going right. So you gotta sync those two things up, man.
You said that baseball is such a mental game, and that as much as you prepare physically, that it comes down to the mind. What is it that makes you say that this is such a mental game?
Personal experience, definitely been through it. Baseball, you can ask anybody that's really played at pretty much any level, high level, high school, anything like that. If you have such a long time sometimes in between at bats, and if I swung and missed at the first pitch that I saw, and I still can't process an hour later that I swung and missed at that pitch, and I have to try to hit the same pitch again, and I still can't process it from an hour ago, then I'm just going to be all up in my head, and I'm not going to be able to do anything. If I'm in between, like if I'm thinking fastball and I'm still swinging a curveball, and I'm not necessarily reacting to it, I'm kind of just swinging on top of it and just kind of flailing around, I'm all over the place. You know what I mean? If you have no mental approach and you can't kind of slow things down and you know, be able to, you know, put things aside and not always try so hard, I feel like that's what baseball players end up doing, is just like you get tense and you want to just try so hard and do so well sometimes because you've done it before, and then you just don't in the moment, and you just can't process why, and that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, so you think it's essentially just the trying so hard to make it work instead of letting the game come to you.
Yeah, because especially when you're a Major League Baseball player, you've done it. Judge had 50 something home runs. He hasn't. Does he? He hasn't hit one in the World Series. He hit one last series. He hit 2 last series, whatever. But it was kind of like he hit one every other day, almost. And now we're not, seeing that. And he's probably not understanding it either. He hasn't really barreled something up. These guys aren't. Juan Soto is one of the best players in the world. And he looks like he is so mentally locked in where every pitch. He fouled the ball off last night, and I was like, okay, he might hit a home run the next pitch. He looks ridiculously locked in on every single swing. Stanton just looks like a menace up there. And there's other guys that on the team that don't look like that. On both teams, there's guys that are struggling on both teams. I mean, I don't really think Max Muncy's done anything too crazy on the other side. He's probably gonna hit 7 home runs tonight, but like just little things like that. Like even, of course, there was the broadcaster curse last night. Oh, Shohei Ohtani hasn't had a walk in 40 something plate appearances.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Appreciate that.
At this point, people should just know when you're like, this guy. Well, I'll tell you this, and I'm sorry with you being a Yankees fan that I'm going to say this in this moment, but in 2001, when my Diamondbacks were the fastest team to the World Series and the fastest team to ever win a World Series, being only 4 years old, they were up against the Yankees, and Luis Gonzalez came up to bat, and they put up the statistic that he was 0 for 4. And so you see that line, and you're like, okay, something's coming. Then they go to his wife in the stands, and she's praying, and you go, okay, something's coming. And then he hits that ball, and when he gets it out of the infield, and it starts, it drops down, and it starts rolling, you see that run coming in. And I go back to that moment, and I think to myself, like, that to, this kicker hasn't missed the last 15 field goals they've taken from 40 yards away, and then they miss it. So, yeah, I think there's something to be said. I mean, now as a broadcaster, like, you kind of understand that, I mean, at least I do, that live in a game, even if I'm typing something, I'm like, I don't know if I want to type this. Like, if I type that, Syracuse has completed the last 20 passes, right? Kyle McCord's completed 20 passes in a row. If it's 19 and I start to write 20, something inside of me goes, don't even write it, because if you write it, it won't happen. So, like, it's one of those things that, I mean, there really is some truth to broadcasters, especially in live in-game scenarios, to just not say things like
they were absolutely killing me last night. they were killing me last night. They just kept happening. Besides
Shohei,
it was like almost every inning.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Besides Shohei's walk, what were the other things that you remember that, like, they said and you're like, oh, okay.
Honestly, it was so many of them that it literally just kept happening. It's like every stat, every fact that they just kept throwing out. Like, oh, well, this guy hasn't done this in 2 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, there it is. It's like, okay, all right, thank you. I don't want to keep hearing this. Like, tonight, I'm like, if it's the same kind of thing, I'm just going to watch it on mute.
Yeah. No, I've done that before a broadcast. I end up muting. That's usually when they're being biased.
And I usually love that these guys that are on it, Spoltz, and that this is usually one of my more favorable broadcasts. And
yeah,
these guys were killing me last night.
Yep. I mean, Dodgers Yankees Game 4 in the Bronx. Yankees have to win. If they don't, then the series is over. The only time there has ever been a series sweep was by the Dodgers, and it was 61 years ago. So 1963, the Dodgers over the Yankees. and the Yankees trying to not let that happen. The Yankees have won 8 of the 11 World Series matchups between the Yankees and the Dodgers, and the last one was won by the Dodgers in 1981 in a 6-game series, 4-2. Shawn, before we go, we get to do some rapid fire. You get to start.
All right. Let's see. All right. How was the movie set?
It was fun. It was. I actually just got paid. So, but, yeah. So I had to shave. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Shawn and I were supposed to do this earlier, and I was like, "Oh, I got to text him." And then I was on the movie set, and I had forgotten to send you a message, and I felt terrible. And I'm on the set, and they told me as soon as I walked in, and I've had my goatee for. Oh boy, I've had my goatee for 6 years, and so my goatee's been with me in like every April. I wish it a happy anniversary, and something inside of me, and I really didn't tell many people this when I was thinking of it, but I was thinking like maybe I'm going to shave the goatee off just to kind of see what it looks like, and I was like, nah, I don't know. And then I went on the set, and I was sitting there, and it's a 1980s movie. It's like 1984. And so I had the goatee, and I'm sitting there, and I trim it, and I keep it nice. And I was looking down, and I looked up, and I see the costume design lady, and she's staring at me. And she goes, "Oh, I don't like that." And I looked down, and she goes, "We're going to have to shave that. Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess." So they shaved all of this, and they kept my mustache because there weren't like goatees in the 80s. And so they kept this mustache of mine that, made me look like I was in an adult film. And so I had to kind of deal with that on set. And they put me, the main woman in the movie, they had her at the door. And they set me up at this table, and they gave me soup. And so they're like, "Oh, you're supposed to be like eating soup or whatever." And the soup had like aluminum foil covering it. And then I was like, I don't know how long the soup's here. It looks like real soup. I don't know what I'm supposed to do because the camera's right on me. So like I actually was eating the soup. Like I had some of the broth. I'm not dead, so that's good. But like, I mean, I just, the camera was pointing at me. And it points like at me eating, and she's over my shoulder. And then I turn and look at her as she's coming by. And I'm thinking in my head, they better take that shot, because if they don't take that shot and they take the back of my head, there was no reason to shave my face. So like the whole time that I'm on set, I'm going, you better get this mustache that you so desperately felt like I needed to have. So how was the set? It was cool. It was different. It was nice to be back on a movie set. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was an incredible experience, and that was a ton of fun. So it's been a minute since I've done it. I also did theater, and I don't think that you know this, but I was in an Adam and Eve black box, like close theater, like everybody in a small room together, and I was Adam, the only man in the cast, and the entire first act I'm by myself, almost completely naked, and I have to speak I can't forget any of my lines. I'm just like talking out loud and having this monologue almost naked. So that's how I started my career. So this time I felt a little naked without my goatee, but I had more clothes on. So my question.
No, I definitely didn't know that.
What'd you say?
So I definitely didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it was Adam and Eve. I still have the very little clothing outfit that they gave me. I kept it. So my question back to you: if you had to star in any TV show or movie, what TV show or movie would you want to be in, and why?
Oh man, let's see. That's easy. Batman.
Okay. Why?
Batman. Duh. Just because I don't know, I'm a huge Batman fan, but like that would be awesome. That would be like being in that or being Batman or being like Bane or somebody like that, that'd be amazing.
Did you know that I can do a Bane impression?
Oh, I gotta hear it. Let's go.
So typically I don't. Well, no, I've done it on screen before, but all it is to me is it's Sean Connery with like a muzzle. So
Yeah, pretty much.
you know, it's like this, you dirty little Batman. You think you're gonna take care of me? I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yes, that is a good one right there.
Yeah.
That is definitely a good
And
one.
for some reason, I always make him like dirty and funny. And so he's like, oh, it's like, what did Bane say when he walked into, like he's with his girlfriend. It's the first night that they're going to romantically be in the bed together. And he's like, get ready for the backbreaker. Yeah. Bane kind of just came out of
funny.
nowhere. And I do it at times where no one expects it. I just bring it out. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun to just kind of put that in a conversation when no one's prepared for Bane to give his 2 cents. So
I would definitely say so.
What's your next question for me?
All right. So we're obviously we talk about traveling a lot, stuff like that. Where's the next trip?
Well, it might be New York City, New Jersey.
Tonight?
So I've been in October. If anybody's wondering why they have not seen me, beginning of October, which feels like it was a week ago, but the beginning of October, I was in Charlotte for the ACC tip-off. I was in Cornelius, North Carolina, with my client for Superpowered Pop, Parker Banner, Kent, and Wayne. Obviously, you have Wayne for Bruce Wayne there in the name. So I was down in Charlotte, North Carolina. Then I came home and I virtually did 2 days of the AAC media days for their basketball teams for the American, which was held in Texas. Then I went to New York City for New York Comic Con to cover it for Superpowered Pop in what I believe is year number 7. And then I came home. I celebrated my birthday on Monday, October 21st. And then 2 days later, I went back to New York City for Big East men's and women's basketball media day. And then I just came home a couple days ago, and I may be going back to the New York City area potentially in a few days.
You're always all over the place.
Yeah. So it's been a little crazy. If you could go anywhere in the world right now that you've never been, where would you go and who would you take?
Let's see. I want to go to Ireland.
Okay.
And I'm going with. I'm taking the fam, mom, dad. Let's go. Send it. Step parents. Let's go.
I love it. Mom and dad. I appreciate that. All right. Why'd you pick Ireland?
Just because I've never been. I'm very Irish and just want to go there eventually.
Okay. Fair enough. Final question.
All right. Let's see. All right. So, with all college basketball and everything like that coming up like that, I'm a big college basketball fan too. Who you got this year?
Well, I'm heartbroken that Tony Bennett retired, and I actually asked him the question at the ACC tip-off that apparently he talked about in like his retirement thing, which was you're a coach who grows and develops over time with student athletes. Do you believe that you can grow, develop, and build a program in the current collegiate model the way that you want to? I asked him that question, and then the next week, he had made the decision to retire, and obviously stating the fact that things are different now. So I'm sad about that, but I feel like, and I was just pretty much standing next to this guy a few days ago in New York City at Madison Square Garden. Dan Hurley and UConn, they've built something, and I think they're going to be really hard to beat again. I feel good about Gonzaga. I think there's some other teams around the country that, could be exciting to watch, but I think UConn is still the team to beat.
All right. That's hard, upsetting to hear, but it's a Tar Heel fan.
No, North Carolina. I mean, RJ Davis is back, and Seth Trimble might be taking on a bigger role, and some other things. Armando Bacot is done with his 27 years in college. So, I mean, that guy was in college for like 7 years. But, and I mean, at this point, I think he's a doctorate of something. He has a doctorate.
Oh, he is.
You know, but that was just, I was like, Armando's back. Can he be back?
He made an NBA roster.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very happy for Armando, and I look forward to what he can do in the NBA. My last question for you. What is the best? I'm just interested in this, just because I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but what is the best piece of relationship advice you have ever been given?
Oh boy, I don't know. I'll say it's from Clay recently. Just do whatever your wife says, man. That's hey, where you know, I've been helping him, you know, move his stuff around the house and do like that, and you know, it's just a happy wife, happy life, that kind of thing. You know, whatever it is, do whatever they need.
My goodness. Do whatever your wife says, man. All right. Well, Clay, we love you. So with that being said, you know, and Kate, we love you too. So
he's probably watching right now, so I figured I'd go shout him out before I go say hi to him.
Yeah. Do whatever your wife says. So with that being said, Shawn Peake, Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse of Bobcats head baseball coach heading into year 3 here in this edition of the Bobcat Buzz. Shawn, as always, it's my pleasure, my friend, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely, buddy. Have a nice day.
All right, you too. Have a good day.
Thank you.
And with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, those of you that have checked in for the Bearcat Breakroom and want to hear from Neel Bhattacharjee about this Binghamton University women's soccer program that has advanced into the America East postseason. They do have another game. It's on their regular season game. Final regular season game is going to be on the road at Albany, and that game is going to be happening this Thursday on Halloween. And then they already know that no matter what happens in that game, that they're in the America East postseason. They made it to the tournament for women's soccer in the America East, and they will be hosting on Sunday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. at home in their sports complex right there at Binghamton University. So with that being said, Neel Bhattacharjee coming up next on Wake Up Call, and a big time thanks to Shawn Peake. You'll hear from Neel right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. it's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, coming off of that fast break and an opportunity to speak with you in the Bearcat Breakroom. You know, it's Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University and the Bearcats. I have the blessing and the wonderful, wonderful time here to be with Neel Bhattacharjee, who is with me on the field. Just a little while back, we had the opportunity going into the season to speak on the hopes for this season and to build upon the success that this program has had in recent history. They've continued that success in their advancement to the America East postseason. And with that being said, we bring in Neel. Neel, how are you?
I'm doing well, Dan. Thanks for having me on, as always.
Absolutely. And Neel, you know, kind of first and foremost for you, what's been your favorite part of this season as far as the development and the advancement of this program? What's really just kind of stuck out to you in a way that made you proud as the head coach of this team?
I'd say the development of this team since preseason and the camaraderie that our student athletes have shown in terms of having the type of team culture that we want. So I know when I met with you way back at the end of July, before preseason, you know, the word on us is that we were going to be a new look type of team. You know, we graduated about 5 to 6 starters, depending on games that you looked at from last season, and that we were going to have new faces and new positions, and you know, it was going to take a little bit of a learning curve. So some of that occurred over the spring, and then certainly into this preseason. But you know, we got off to a good preseason, got that first win in our first game against George Washington down in DC way back in August, yeah. And we've just been developing since then. You know, we've been coming together. We've had a new look. You know, we had a significant injury to one of our starters in our first conference game, so we had to make an adjustment there. And each step of the way, you know, our young women have been able to adjust, adapt to new roles, and they've been pushing one another and doing so in a really positive and constructive way. So I'd say, you know, as I look through the season, in terms of the development, the progress that we made, you know, that's the thing that I'm most proud about this particular group.
Yeah, and like you said, the development and the care that they have for each other, the connection that they have with one another. Was there a point in this season that you felt was a moment of adversity, a moment of, you know, kind of let's get together and let's figure this thing out? Can you go back to a time where this team really needed a message, they needed a boost, they needed to kind of figure something out, because we know that success doesn't come without adversity. So when were those moments so far?
Yeah, I'd say probably a key moment would be, you know, our first 2 games of conference season. We played at Maine, which is a tough place to play. And, you know, you're on a bus for a little over 10 hours. And so we dropped that match 2-1. And then the next game we dropped against UNH 1-0. Pretty even game, but just one of those days where, you know, I think UNH got one more bounce that went their way than we did. But we had a pretty good idea that those are probably going to be two of our toughest competitors in conference, and it's definitely played out that way with the two of them vying for the regular season championship. So it was a little bit of a different scenario for us, right? Because we had only lost one conference game in 2 years, and here we are starting conference play 0-2. So it was new for us, but this is a new team. Every year, it's a new group, it's a new team. So you can't look at, okay, well, this is what we did in the past, because that was just a completely different set of individual players. Where this is a different team. So what I liked is how we came together. We knew there were some things that we needed to be better on after those first couple matches. The first match, that's when we lost Paige Luke. To an unfortunate ACL injury, and how we had to adjust from that because she was a starter and a heavy part of our rotation. So we had to have a new look, make some adjustments. And what I really liked about this team is that there were some learning moments. We can certainly be disappointed and frustrated when we have a loss, but you also have to look at those as opportunities to learn. There are some things that we knew that we can improve upon, and we certainly did. And the great thing is now you see the team that we haven't lost a match since then, and certainly want to be ending on a high note as we get ready to play our last conference game going into Albany on Thursday evening.
Yeah, and like you said, when you look at the loss of Paige Luke to the ACL injury at the beginning of the season, bring me into how you've seen Paige respond to it and how you've seen the team respond to it.
Yeah, so for Paige, she's of course so disappointed, she loves the game. She loves being able to perform, to be able to play with and for her teammates. My thought to her was, listen, you can be disappointed, you can be sad, but you can do that for a moment, and then we're going to focus on the next step. So for her, what that means is that getting ready in terms of when surgery is going to be, and then we're going to be talking about rehab, and then we're going to be talking about steps from there. Certainly not rushing anything. But putting herself in a good place so that she can come back to being the player that we know she's capable of being, if not stronger. We want to make sure that she's all set up there in terms of having the proper mindset. She had a number of her teammates reach out to and support her. We do have a couple players on our team that also had the unfortunate experience of going through an ACL and knowing what that's like, and the surgery and the rehab and the process and the progress and the timing. We've certainly done our part in terms of trying to help support her. And we've got a number of people here at Binghamton within administration and otherwise that also can be there to help support her. So, I feel like Paige has gotten a lot of different voices, all in a positive way, make sure that she gets into a good spot. And, as a team, one thing that we talk about is, listen, if something happens, there is an injury, if it's a 2-week thing or if it's a 9-month thing, the next person steps up. That's critical in terms of what we do as a program. So we can of course be sad and frustrated with Paige, but we can only do that momentarily because the next opponent is waiting for you. You got to be prepped and ready. So the next people that did step up, Isabella Martello, Belle Brown, how we change things in terms of a little bit of how we play, how we're using the flanks with Hannah Nemus, Megan Baker. Everybody has stepped up a bit. And we've been able to find success just adjusting, doing it different ways.
Yeah, and Neel, like you said, just trying to work through this and finding different ways to get things done. When we look at the season and the losses that you've had this season, Canisius early on 5-0 in that loss, and then close games: American 2-0, Syracuse 1-0. 2-1 against Maine, which you had brought up. You brought up New Hampshire 1-0. Of those losses that the team's endured this season, what are the positive building blocks that you took out of that? Because this team has lost a couple in a row, at times, but it hasn't turned into a long streak. And the last time you lost two was Maine and New Hampshire. You responded by defeating UMBC, then Bryant, then tying NJIT, then beating Vermont, and then tying UMass Lowell most recently. So your response to losses has been strong. What have you learned from the losses?
Well, every time we look at it as a learning opportunity. I don't feel like there was any game that I'm like, oh man, we were just so out of it. Even Canisius, it was a 5-0 game. Some unfortunate calls. There a couple of mistakes that we were responsible for that we could adjust and be better on. And we do want to play good opponents. That's critical to us. So, Canisius is having a very strong year in terms of what they're doing in the MAC. That we wanted to play Syracuse out of the ACC. We had a good result against Wagner, who made they're now making their conference postseason. Monmouth they just won the CAA, and we we had to have a gritty game in terms of getting a tie result there. And then against Maine, all of those things are things that we can learn from and that we do get better on. And then we talk about the response. So we don't necessarily dwell on things. It's okay, for kids to leave the field being upset and wanting more from a loss. We would expect that. But then when we come out the next morning, if it's a recovery session or we're getting ready for video for the next opponent, okay, we put that behind us. What are the things that we can take away and learn from that we'll be better for? And then ready to move on and be ready for the next opponent. So that's a little bit of the mindset even right now. We were up 3-0 against Lowell, and putting in a great performance, and they had the better run in the second half. So there's some things that we need to be better on when they pressed us. So that'll be a focus in terms of things that we're going to be doing this week. And if we do that, we'll be a better team for come Thursday night. And that's one thing I really am enamored with this team about, is that they still keep learning, they still keep developing, they still keep getting better. I don't think there are a lot of teams that you could say that about them in late October. But for us, we're still finding ways to continue and improve and adjust and get better. And that's an important key concept for us as we head into the end of the season. Yeah,
like you said, I mean, to continue to be learning, continuing to be getting better, to continue to be evolving here in October, to go back to the culture of this team and to go back to the student athletes that you have met by the culture that you've created, just what you could say to that effect, that this is a team that is still learning, they're still growing, they're still blossoming. Maybe they haven't played their best soccer yet. Just what it's like to be within that environment of a team that is growing and blossoming and continuing to create at a time where some teams might just be like, hey, this is where we are, this is what we do. But you're saying, hey, we're here in October, and there's still more to be had. There's still more to learn. I mean, as a leader of this program, it's got to be exciting for you to see a team that is not afraid to learn and not afraid to evolve, and at the same time that they're still doing it.
Right. So much of that was created in the spring. And honestly, a lot of it was put in the players' hands. So we talked to them and we said, hey, what do you guys want to be known for? What do you want your culture to be about? What were some things from last year that we can improve upon? Even though we won a regular season championship, we knew there are things that we could continue to grow and improve upon. So they created a set of core values. They wanted to be known for their attitude and mentality. They wanted to be known for how competitive they were. They wanted to know, they wanted to feel a sense of unity within the team. And then they just wanted overall respect for each other, for themselves, for teammates, for their staff. That was terrific. But and then my charge to them was, okay, great. Those are high arching values that you want to have. But right now, those are words. If you really want those to be values, you got to live those out day by day. And, so we reviewed those things when we came back in preseason. We got the freshmen on board because they weren't really necessarily part of all that work that we put in over the spring. Some of the stuff that we did off the field to hopefully play a part on the field. So they've collectively been able to do that, to come together, live it day by day. And then there have been moments here and there where, okay, there's a little bit of a slip, and then we bring it out. Okay, well, this is what you guys said, and this is what you wanted. So if we didn't quite meet that standard, okay, well, how do we address it? Because we can't just let it slide and be a slip, because otherwise it's just talk instead of actually living out the high ideals that you set for yourself. And then a lot of it comes from our upperclassmen. We were able to celebrate our senior day. We've got 9 seniors that have really given a lot to this program. They've embodied those values in terms of being positive teammates and having the culture and positivity that we wanted to bring out. And that all has shown. So it's really helped us as we've gone through the season. I think we are at a stage where we've shown we are playing our best soccer. Sometimes, like yesterday was an example, we could do it for 45 minutes. And then against Vermont, we did it for a full 90 minutes. And now as you go into postseason, now we got to make sure that we put the complete package for the total time that we're out there.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, putting that whole package together, do you feel like your team is in a place where this can happen? I mean, are you seeing that this full package can come together at the most opportune time?
Yeah, so we're excited. We want to make sure that we put in a good performance on Thursday evening, and then Sunday we know we're hosting a home quarterfinal. Yeah. So we'll be either a 3 or 4 seed, and that means we'll be hosting either Bryant, UMass Lowell, or Vermont. But we know if we get a win Thursday, we clinch the 3 seed. And certainly not looking past anybody. You get to the stage of the season where, it's do or die, win or go home. So we know we have to put in our best performances. And then you throw in the other things like sudden death to overtime. And if it remains tied, then it goes to penalty kicks and things like that. So it's important that you do put out your best effort. And, you're doing that with your full confidence. So we feel like we're in a really good spot. Any speed bumps that we've hit along the way, any loss that we've had, any frustrations that we've been able to utilize that in a learning manner and use that in a positive direction. So I do feel like we are at a stage where we're playing our best soccer. We just want to make sure we do that collectively over a full 90 minutes or 110 minutes or whatever ends up being the case. And then, hopefully that we can get a result on Sunday. And even a couple of the close losses that we had, Maine was by a goal, UNH was by a goal. And I give this team a lot of credit. They even said, we would love to see them again. We hope we get a second chance to see them in postseason. So if that does end up being the case, we'll be ready for it. And, our team has the hunger. Not just playing their best soccer, but being together. I think this is a point of the season where some teams, you can kind of see that the edge maybe starts to wear off or the attitude starts to drop off a little bit, as you're seeing the end of the season, whereas the teams that really, truly thrive are the ones that come together and they rise to the occasion. And I think that's what you're going to see with our program this week.
Neel Bhattacharjee, one more regular season game coming up this Thursday, Halloween, October 31st at Albany against the University at Albany. And then we will see, no matter what, Binghamton will be at home in the America East quarterfinals to host that quarterfinal matchup on Sunday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. at the Bearcats Sports Complex. Any final note that you'd like the fans to know, you'd like the community to know, Neel, as you step forward into your final regular season game and know that you're going to be hosting a playoff game?
Yeah, it's the most important time of the year. So would love to see, fans in the stands on Sunday. This is where it gets to be even more exciting, again, with that do or die mentality, everything on the line. And, we're what we do here at Binghamton, and this comes from, at the top with Gene Marshall. I mean, all championships, they go through I-81. They go through Binghamton. We're hungry to play our best soccer and to be chasing a ring. And so we'd love to have the support of the students, the families and friends, and all the supporters of Binghamton's Women's Soccer to be up there on Sunday to help support us.
Neel Bhattacharjee here in this Bearcat Breakroom, celebrating his team and celebrating the run of this program so far in 2024, but they're not done yet. Binghamton Women's Soccer, following the advance with the America East postseason, we will see them on the road, like I said, on Halloween, and then we'll see them at home on Sunday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Neel, as always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the work that you're doing. As I told you off the air, and I'll tell you on the air, it is really wonderful to see what this team has accomplished, how they've come together, talking to you and getting to know about your journey and your history going into this season. When we spoke on the field, like you said, back in July, it just puts more on it for me. It personalizes this run for me. And so I'm really happy for you. I'm proud of you and the team. And I hope that you continue to have more moments together and continue to advance together this season.
Thanks, Dan. Always appreciate it, and appreciate the time for you to showcase everything that our young women are doing within the Binghamton women's soccer program. So appreciate it as always.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I appreciate y'all being here this morning, and thank you for being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. For those of you that are just tuning in, Miss Lily is having a procedure done. My little daughter, I love her so much, and so just keep her in your prayers. And all of those that we need to pray for today. So I appreciate you, and I thank you for all of that, and any prayers and well wishes. Pray for Lorraine and her family as well, and blessings to them, and just goodness to them, and may God be with them and help them in this time to heal and to handle well whatever comes their way, and to fear no evil, and know that God is with them even in a time where this is really difficult and life is very hard. So my prayers to Lorraine and to her loved ones, and for healing and safety and health and wellness and happiness in Jesus' most precious name. Amen. So, with that being said, I just wanted to make sure that we said that prayer, and just to tell you all, I mean, be yourselves, and that's today's segment for the ingredients to success, proudly presented by the fantastic team at Avicolli's. That's today's topic. It's about being yourself. You know, who else can you be? And you know, someone who's being themselves and is comfortable in their own skin, they're gonna hear me say be yourself, and you're gonna go, duh, Dan, like what else could you possibly do? You can't be anything but yourself. But you know, I think a lot of us in today's world, we try to be something that we're not, right? You want to look a certain way, you want to sound a certain way, you want to do certain things because you think they're cool, right? You think it's part of the fad, it's part of what's going on right now, and you know, you want to be in the cool crowd, and you want to wear the clothes that they're wearing, and you want to do the things that they're doing, and do the dance that they're doing on TikTok, and all that stuff. And we get caught up in trying to be somebody else, somebody that we're not, or we think we have to do something a certain way. Be yourself. You know, be yourself. Because yourself, well, first and foremost, in being yourself, you got to believe that you're good enough. And that's something that, you know, it's going to be hard for you to be yourself if you don't think you're good enough. And that's the real. You know, being yourself is not easy when you don't think that you're enough. And so that's one of the ingredients of being yourself. And the first ingredient to being yourself is understanding that you're enough. Yeah, you're going to be weird at times, and you're not going to make sense to everybody, and you're going to do things that people don't do and that people think are different. But it's who you are. You know, those things are who you are. And it's okay. You know, it's okay to be different. And it's okay to be unique. And I think people in today's, you know, climate, in today's world, I feel like you need to hear that. You need to hear that it's okay to be you, because you're gonna be weird. Okay? When Thomas Edison was trying to create light that didn't come from the sun, people thought he was weird. I'm sure people thought he was nuts. When they said that the earth was round and not flat, there were people that were like, no, that's ridiculous. You can fall off the earth. When people said they were going to go to space, figure out a way to travel to space and go to the moon, I'm sure those people were thought to be nuts. There's things we consider normal now that were crazy back then, right? And I mean, I remember telling my dad I was going to run for president someday, and my dad's like, you can't run for president if you've never been in office before. And then somebody who's never been in office won the presidency in my lifetime. So there's a lot of things that seem crazy. When I left traditional radio to go to the internet, this is when the internet was considered to be something that it took a back seat to traditional radio. It took a back seat to traditional television at the time. There wasn't a lot of podcasters, and there wasn't a lot of information on podcasting and understanding of podcasting and respect for podcasting. It was this like, why would you do that? Why would you go there? Why would that be the thing that you chose? You know, why would you leave traditional radio? Why would you go away from that? So it was more questions than it was support. It was more, why would you do that? Than, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense that you would do that. There wasn't a lot of positivity coming my way. It was more of confusion. Why would this man knowingly, on his own, choose to leave traditional radio? Why would he walk away from the medium that he went to school and worked so hard to get on? It was considered crazy. Building my business at the time that I did was considered crazy. Building it with 27 cents in my pocket and $103 in my bank account was considered crazy. But I believed in it. I went to school and my teachers told me that they didn't know how to create a ticker, that bottom line that scrolls and moves on like ESPN and the news channels and all that stuff. My teachers didn't know how to do it. I tried to do it. I couldn't figure it out. And I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to be that person that wants to do something and is not going to work at it. And on a Saturday, I went into the studio by myself, and for hours I worked on it, and I figured out how to do the scroll. I figured out how to do it. I taught myself how to do it when my teachers didn't know how to do it. So there's a lot of moments in your life where being yourself may be considered very crazy. You might have ideas and beliefs and things that are considered very, very crazy. And you have to just you have to trust yourself. You know what I mean? You have to trust yourself. I mean, if Thomas Edison didn't trust himself, we don't have the light bulb. If, if Albert Einstein didn't create all the equations and go through all the things that he learned about the world and how it works, then we don't have maybe some things in modern technology. And so being yourself is always going to be weird, right? Because when you're unique and you're special and people recognize it, they recognize it in a way. And that's the thing about life, is that you might be yourself in front of a bunch of people that don't care, right? It makes them jealous. It makes them uncomfortable. They don't like it. When I was trying to be myself in high school, I didn't feel welcome. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel accepted. And then you get into a relationship and you're dating and you're the same person that, you've always been. And their response is, you're a great person. You're a good man. And so, you know what I mean? It's like being yourself, you're not always going to get the accolades and you're not always going to get the love. But when you go so long being who you are and you love who you are and you stick with who you are, you get to a point in your life where like you might have gone many, many, many years and many relationships and friendships where people didn't appreciate who you are. And then you meet somebody who sees you for who you are and knows without a doubt that you're a good person. And to me, that really sticks out. Like, that changes the game to me. When someone looks at you and just sees how great of a person you are, it brings a breath of fresh air, and you shouldn't need it at all. And I didn't when I heard it. I didn't actually expect to hear it at all. I didn't expect to hear it, and not to the extent that I heard it. And when you hear it, when you hear that, like, you're a great person, without doubt, like you're a really good person, you're a nice person, you're a person that I don't want to hurt. You know what I mean? When you hear those things come from people, you take a step back and you feel like someone's finally seen you for who you are. And it makes you feel like all of that time you invested in being yourself, when someone realizes that and sees who you are, it gives you that like piece of like, I was myself when I didn't think anybody was watching, and I was myself when I didn't think anybody cared, and I was myself when I didn't think people appreciated it, and I was myself in this darkness. And then someone comes and brings you a candle and puts it in your hand and says, thank you for being who you are. And I think that like that is the thing that really moves you to be grateful that you didn't stop being yourself in times where you were laughed at and you were ridiculed. Because you will be. You will be. I remember growing up and I didn't feel comfortable reading a comic book in school unless I hid it. You know, I couldn't tell people I read comic books. You got to hide them inside of your social studies book and this and that, whatever. But I always wanted to take them out and read them. And now I go to New York Comic Con and there's 160,000 people, and a ton of these people are dressed up. A ton of these people are dressed up. They're not just reading comic books, like they're dressing up like their favorite characters, and they're 30, they're 40, they're 50, they're in their 20s. I mean, they put in all this effort to their costume. They're being themselves, and there's a freeness to that. And you know, you have to find somebody who equals your crazy, so to speak. And thank you, Jerry. I really appreciate that. But you know, you have to find someone who equals your crazy, you know. And what do I mean by? Do I mean you literally have to be crazy? No, it's that, you know, be who you are. You know, be who you are, and understand that there will be people that will love that. And there will be people that see that and just value that. You know, who you are and what you're about. And you don't have to scour the earth for them. They'll find you. And I'm trying to not get choked up by it, but it's like, God really challenges you to be yourself when nobody's clapping for you. And there is this notion of, if you don't do it for their applause, you won't be depressed by their silence. And I did a show recently, and I got asked who I would interview, living or dead, and why. And I said Jesus Christ. And the room was very quiet. And when that room is quiet, some people might say, oh, just kidding, let me pick something else and get the room back in my favor. Where I was like, I don't care what this room does, because I know Jesus is in this room too. And what did Jesus say? Whoever forgets me in front of, you know, the world, I will forget in front of my Father. And so I said Jesus Christ, and I answered this kid's question, and I told him why. I said, I want to talk to Jesus about what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong, and what he thinks of me, and how I can help him and how I can serve him, because it's not about me. Nobody clapped. And at the end of the show, I was cleaning up. And the kid that asked me the question, Jack, he came up to me and he said, Mr. Tortora, I just want to tell you that your answer to my question of who you'd want to interview, living or dead, I appreciate that you said Jesus Christ. That meant something to me, because Jesus Christ is important in my life too. And I was like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And he said, I know I'm young, but I have a Bible verse on my arm. And he lifted up his arm and he showed me this Bible verse. And he said, I just wanted to make sure that I told you that I appreciate it. I appreciate what you said. And you really don't ever know who's watching, and you never know whose life you can affect. And that's why I tell you, like, be yourself. Because if you are truly yourself and you're comfortable in your own skin, that person that falls in love with you, you're gonna feel a lot of like goodness from that. Like, you know, she or he fell in love with me for who I am, for who I truly am. And yesterday when I said that about Jesus, I didn't say that to impress anybody. I honestly was not surprised that the room was silent. And to me, answering that question and telling him that with my heart, I was moved by his response, and I was moved by his positivity, and it meant a lot to me, you know? But that's the thing, is it's like, if I wasn't myself, then I wouldn't have said that. And if I didn't say that, then I wouldn't be in a place where that kid and I would have had that interaction. You know? And that is something that, you know, I have to reflect upon, is like, if I haven't loved God my entire life, you know, and I haven't given to that relationship and felt that relationship and tried to nurture that relationship and give back, then I wouldn't have had that conversation with that kid. If I didn't have a relationship with God, then him and I wouldn't have that conversation. And like, to me, that's something that goes a long way, is that you don't ever know who's watching, and you don't know who's listening, and you don't know what sticks with people. So you really just have to be yourself, because you are going to be weird. There's things that you're going to do that are weird. There's faces that you're going to make. I do impersonations, right?
Oh, boy, who's my pal? Come here, Pluto.
Like, I mean, I do impressions. And some people think they're cute, and some people think they're scary, and some people think they're weird. But when you do these things, it's who you are. And I feel like we spend so much time in our lives just like trying to impress people and trying to make people like us, trying to keep people around. How do I keep this friend group, right? What do I need to do? How do I need to dress so that they'll hang out with me? How do I need to talk so that they'll hang out with me? How do I get this girl to like me? Like, I have to look up pickup lines, and I got to read books on dating and how to keep a woman and how to keep a man. And you just have to be yourself. Because when you're yourself, you attract the gifts that God has for you. I love being on this microphone because it's what I love to do. And when I started my company, I didn't know where my listeners were going to come from, how I was going to get them. I just knew what I wanted to do. And God provided, and he didn't provide overnight. He didn't provide overnight. God, who is the maker of heaven and earth, took 6 days to create the earth. You think God couldn't have like snapped his fingers and there it was? But he took his time with it. God, who has all of the power, that can say, this is what I want, this is what I got. He took his time in creating it. He took his time in creating you. Your mom doesn't get pregnant and have you the next day. It takes 9 months for you to grow. It takes 9 months for you to develop. From that first moment, you are alive, but you have to grow. And in life, when something good happens to us, we want to see the fruit of our labor immediately. When we know that we like that girl, or we like that guy, or we want that job, or we want that house, we become anxiety-driven to making that happen. Instead of understanding that time is what you need, and time is what will teach you. You should never be afraid of time. Because if time in any relationship if time, let's use romantic relationship as an example. If the more time you spend together, the more one of you or both of you distances yourself from each other, people say, well, I'm afraid of time then. I'm afraid of time. Time spent apart with the right person, that person, whether they tell you or not, is going to miss you. Time spent away from each other with the wrong person, they're not going to think about you. They're not going to miss you. And I had a friend that we were friends for so many years. I thought he was my best friend. I thought he was my best friend in the whole world. And he lied to my face. He treated me poorly. He did things toward me that I would never do toward a stranger, let alone somebody that I love dearly. And I walked away from the friendship saying, I need time away, because if I keep talking to him, then I'm telling him that I'm okay with what he did. And I'm not. So I'm gonna distance myself to let him know that I do not appreciate the way that he treated me. Like, to me, we're family, and he treated me like a piece of nothing. So I backed up. And he called once, and he didn't leave a message, never texted. Called one more time, and he didn't leave a message and never texted. And then he disappeared for the rest of my life. And to me, knowing that a phone call with no message, a phone call of just, whatever, there was no... Someone who truly wants to be in your life is going to make that effort. Because I have friends that, like, I won't talk to, and out of nowhere, they'll reach out. And then they'll reach out again. And there could be a year that goes by. There could be 5 months that goes by. There could be 3 months that goes by. And then they reach out. They want to know how you're doing. They want to know what's up. They want to know if you're happy. They want to support you. And to me, when you stay on somebody, now you can't chase forever, right? But when you stay on someone's mind and you stay on their heart, that's where you are. That's where you live. And being who you are will attract the right people, and it will repel the wrong people. But it's up to you to understand those things. Because I had a friend tell me a long time ago, they said, people that come into your life that are chaotic and terrible, those people may still be attracted to the qualities that you have as a person that good people are attracted to. Because good people and chaotic people can both be attracted to peace and success and love and positivity. Even crazy people want to be loved. Crazy people want to feel safe. And so, it's up to you to see in other people what is there. It's up for you to see what is there. And when you notice something over a period of time, there becomes an understanding of it. You might be that friend that you have a bunch of friends you hang out with, but if you stopped calling them, none of them would call you to hang out. None of them would call you to check on you. And so to me, I think it's important to surround yourself with effort and to surround yourself with people that appreciate you for who you are. It's not easy to be yourself because, again, You are going to do things and you're going to say things and you're going to have mannerisms and you're going to have ways about you that some people are going to think are just crazy. And I mean, Jesus said he was the Son of God and people laughed in his face. INRI, that INRI that's written above him on the cross, which it means Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, that was a mockery. They weren't saying, this is Jesus of Nazareth, who is the King of the Jews. It was them going, yeah, okay, Jesus, you're the King of the Jews, ha ha ha. And then it was like graffiti, you know, it was like a joke. It was a mockery. It was like putting a dunce cap over Jesus. Then he ends up being Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. He ends up being who he says he was. And I mean, do you think it was hard for Jesus to be himself? The Garden of Gethsemane, what did he say? You know, God, if it be your will, let this cup pass me. But if not, I bend to your will. You know, Jesus didn't want to die, but he told God, if this is what you need, I'll do it. Whatever you need will supersede my wants and desires. I don't want this, but if you want this for me, I will support it. How many of us in our lives are willing to tell God, I don't want what you're asking me to do or say or go. I don't want to leave this person. I don't want to leave this job. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to take a risk. But if it be your will, may your will be done. When you meet somebody and you think like, oh, this is a really great person, I'd love to date them. And you say to God, may your will be done, you might not end up with that person. Or you might. When you say to God, I'm in this job that I really, really wanted, may your will be done, God may want you in a different state doing a totally different thing. When you say to God, may your will be done, you are essentially telling God, I might not get what I want. And I think a lot of people, myself included, struggle with God may not give me what I want, because there's a lot of things I asked God for in my past that he didn't give me. And looking back on it, you know what I mean? It's like, what did I lose? What would my life have looked like? Would I have had the same support? Would I have had the same love? Would I have had the same laughs? Would I have had the same memories? Would I have gone to the same places? Where would I be living right now? And so, I mean, I'm kind of big picturing this ingredients to success and broadening the conversation about it. But what it comes down to is if you are yourself, I have a belief that the right lover will find you, the right friends will find you, the right job will find you. You know, my mom wanted to be a flight attendant when she was 18. She became a flight attendant at 47. If she had become a flight attendant at 18, who knows where her life would have been, where it would have brought her, and what she would have done. But she became a flight attendant at 47, and if she didn't become a flight attendant when she did, and she didn't leave and go through what she went through, and then come back when she did, and work for the company she works for, if everything had happened when she wanted it to happen almost 30 years before, she would have never met who she considers her best boss of her entire life of any job. Because if she had worked back then as a flight attendant, she might not have been in this place at this time with this company, because the company didn't exist the way back then that it exists today. So I never thought I was coming back to Syracuse. I never thought I was moving here. And anybody that knows me knows that I could be anywhere at any time. I am a spontaneous person, and I'm also a methodical person. I'm a person who plans and doesn't plan. And I live in this world of I have to have structure of certain things because people are creatures of habit. Like I have my show every Monday through Friday morning because I want to have something that people can go, okay, this is where he's going to be and this is where I can listen and it doesn't change. Right? So that to me is very, very important. So being who you are, and so let me get back to what I was saying here. Lemoyne just announced their new director of athletics, and I want to bring this to you, so I'm going to break in the action here for a second. I didn't forget where I was, so don't worry about it. But I do have to make an announcement here live. Phil Brown is going to be the assistant vice president of athletics. So Phil Brown is going to be the new leader of athletics, following a national search. He comes from Vanderbilt University, where he was executive associate athletic director and chief business officer. He will start on January 1st, 2025. So he will officially start his role in the new year. So I just want to make that announcement. But the reality of it all is I never thought I was coming back here. I never thought I was coming back to Syracuse. It wasn't my intent. I was living down in Florida, and I was loving life, down in Florida, working at ESPN radio and working at Disney. I was having a good time. So that was my intent. And yet, here I am back in Syracuse. So you say, okay, Dan, well, you were never coming back here, so how did you end up back here? I prayed to God. And when I prayed to God, I had no inkling of where to go. I said, God, do you want me to go to Bristol, Connecticut and try and work with ESPN at their headquarters? Or do you want me to go back home to Syracuse and try to figure something out there? And I remember sitting in the car. I wanted to be emotional and I couldn't cry. I just couldn't. And I got up and I looked up at the stars and I said, God, I know that it's not right of me to, you're not supposed to ask for something immediately, show it to me right now. I was like, but if I could just see a shooting star, it would let me know that that you're listening, because I felt no direction and I had no idea where to go. And I looked at the sky up in front of me and there was nothing, and something said, no, look up. And I looked up over my head, and as I looked over my head, a green line went over my head of a shooting star. And I got down on my knees and I thanked God. And I didn't know what the answer was. I just knew that he had told me in that moment, I am here, my son. And we just continued to have the discussion. And eventually I figured it out, and will I live here forever? I don't know. See, I'm the type of person where what I build in a place I keep. I don't live in Florida. It's my second home, and so there's that, Mary tells me, she's like, you're a Florida resident. You're down here all the time. You're doing all this stuff and all this work down here. So it is my second home. It's not my first home. But I didn't lose Florida. I didn't lose my listeners and supporters down there. I didn't lose my fantasy football people down there. I didn't lose my connection to people in business down there. And I still have that bond, and I left in 2011. And so we're talking, it's 2024. So we're talking 13 years. And yet Florida is still home. And I've built closer ties with Florida not being in Florida. And I built all these ties in North Carolina. And, I joke around about New York City and I would never live in New York City and blah, 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 blah. And then I'm walking around the streets of New York City for the last couple of weeks, and I felt comfortable. It felt normal to me. It felt natural to me. I felt safe. And I just felt like God was with me and we were just doing our thing. And to me, I really honestly feel like I can assimilate myself into any place. If it's where I want to be and I'm serving my purpose and I'm serving God and I'm keeping him first, I could go anywhere and do anything. And that to me is a gift. But you have to know who you are, and you have to know what you're willing to do. And when you know who you are, you have the ability to do so many things. So to kind of bring this whole thing full circle, when I tell you this morning to be yourself, I'm telling you to really just take the time to understand that you are enough. You're going to be enough for that person that falls in love with you. You're going to be that really, truly, cares about you. Like the person that God sent to you. You're going to be enough for them, right? They may not know it initially. They may not know it 10 days in. They may not know it 10 months in, but, you're going to be enough for someone. And there's this notion of the wrong person finds you at peace and breaks you into pieces. The right person finds you in pieces and gives you peace. And so, is there ever the right time to meet the right person? I don't know. I talk to people that have kids and I want to be a father someday. And I ask them, is there ever a right time to have kids? And they're like, no. You never can save up enough money. You can never be prepared. You can't read enough books. Like, you don't know. Like, your kid's going to be your kid. Your kid could be totally different than the 900 kids that they pulled to try and come up with answers in the book you're reading. And, so, I mean, we don't really know. We talk about God's timing is perfect, right? And the reality of it all is like, do you meet someone and everything's great with you and everything's great with them and you just bond and it's great? That would be a perfect society, right? Think about, to my listeners and my viewers, think about when you met your husband or your wife. Were you like 100% where you wanted to be, doing what you wanted to do? Did you feel like you were totally healed from your past? Did you feel completely ready? Or do you feel like, wow, this person met me in the middle of a storm and I couldn't see them for a really long time, but they just kept showing up with an umbrella and one day I finally took it. So, the only thing I can tell you is to trust your gut and pray to God. There's one prayer that really keeps me grounded and it keeps my feet where I'm at. And that's the prayer: God, guide me to you and to what you want for me. Guard me from what you don't. Guide me to you. Guard me from what is not of you. Guide me toward where you want me. Guard me from where you don't. Because if you want to know, am I going toward the right person or the wrong person, ask God. Because every time I've asked God to guide me and guard me, I might not have liked the answer, but when I said guide me toward the right person, guard me from the wrong one, he would maybe not right in the. Sometimes it felt like it was in the minute. Sometimes it was a little while, but he made it very clear. You asked me, and the more I said, no, guide and guard me, no guide, because I didn't like the answer. I said, guide and guard me toward the right person, and he's guarding me from this person. He's not guiding me toward them. And I would pray again. And I would say, maybe it'll change. And I would pray again. And I felt him being like, I'm telling you not to do this. And, you have to listen to those moments. And when you know it, you just know it. People say when you know, right? I have a friend that said she was never going to have kids. She never wanted to have kids. She didn't want to take care of anybody's kids. And she got married to a person that had 2 kids. And she took care of those kids, right? Then they get divorced because they just ultimately aren't right for each other. And she gets married for a second time. And the woman that didn't want to have children has 2 kids. and they're beautiful and they're wonderful and they're smart and they're sophisticated. And as young as they are so calm and peaceful and very like nurturing kids. And she's homeschooled them. Here's someone who gave up her career to be at home and teach her children. Instead of being a teacher and continuing on that path, she decided to be a teacher to her children. Not a teacher to all these kids, but to a teacher to her children, and decided to raise them in her house. And the woman that was never going to have kids spends more of her life with her kids than she doesn't. So, they say when you make plans, God will laugh at you. And when I was like 16 years old, I used to get so mad when I heard that. When I was 20 years old, I got so mad when I heard that. When somebody said, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I used to get so angry when somebody would tell me that. And now when someone comes up to me and goes, why isn't this working out? Or I don't know about this, I would say, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. My plans were never to come back to Syracuse. Not because I don't love my hometown, but because I had spent my whole life here and I thought I was going to go out and do other things. And so, my thought of living somewhere else, I'm not going to give up what I have here. I'm not going to stop building what I have here. Did I stop building what I had in Florida? What I had in Florida when I lived in Florida compared to what I have in Florida now that I don't is exponentially more because God provided. I was living in Florida, then Florida became my second home, and I moved back to Syracuse. And when I moved back to Syracuse, Syracuse goes into the ACC. The ACC has Florida State and Miami. The American is born out of the Big East. The American has South Florida and used to have UCF. Now it has FAU. Then Syracuse starts recruiting Florida. So I start talking to recruits down in the state of Florida at high schools and prep schools. So now I'm talking to them. I'm talking to South Florida. I'm talking to UCF. I'm talking to Miami. I'm talking to Florida State. And I build and the relationship with the Magic continues. And the relationship with the Jaguars continues. And the relationship with the Tampa Bay Rays continues. So if you look at my life right now, when I was physically in Florida, I had less than what I have in Florida now. And there are people that believe that Florida is a second hub of mine, a second home of mine. That it was something that I said over and over again was my belief. But now other people say it without me having to open my mouth. So if I was to one day leave Syracuse, it's only going to grow because of everything that we built here, and we're going to grow somewhere else. You have to be willing to go where God wants you to go. And that's not always an easy conversation, but you have to be willing to go where God wants you to go. And what I've built as a national and international brand for this show, we have covered teams in the North, in the South, in the East, in the West. We have talked to people all over the world. We have reached people that are in Australia and Alaska and Hawaii and California and Texas and Oklahoma and Florida and Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina and Kentucky and Tennessee and Pennsylvania and Massachusetts and Vermont and Germany and Spain and the Middle East and Italy and Russia and China and the United Kingdom and Canada and Mexico. So when you're building something, you don't even realize as you build it and you're doing things the way that you're doing them, you don't realize that what you've essentially done is, and what God has kind of done in you, is prepared you that if I ask you to physically get up and go there, you don't have to change anything you've done. You've built such a national thing. You've built a national and international brand that wherever you are, you're going to be relevant. So I was reaching out to all these coaches because I wanted to I always want to learn from new people. I want to reach out to new people. I want to bring new people in. That's always been me. If I know 10 schools, how can I know 20? How can I know 25? How can I know 50? I rekindled my relationship with the Big East. Not that I ever wanted it to not be there. When Syracuse moved from the Big East to the ACC, I put my efforts into covering Syracuse where they were, and then I just kind of missed the Big East. And I reached out to them, and reaching out to them for one thing led to something that I wasn't even thinking about at the time, which led to another thing that I didn't even know about, which now has led to 3 years of being connected to the Big East again and being there last week. And if I wasn't connected to the Big East, then I wouldn't be in a place for something else that God had prepared for me that I wasn't even realizing. So you have to trust God. You have to trust that when he guides you toward something, that it's the right thing. And when he guards you from something, it's the wrong thing. And you also have to trust that being yourself is going to be sufficient, because being myself is what made me want to create these relationships. Because people are like, why are you in Syracuse talking to East Carolina? Why are you in Syracuse talking to Houston? Why are you in Syracuse covering the Orlando Magic? And I would always look at people and say, why would I turn down any good opportunity? So they're like, you've created all this work for yourself, when most people in the media in Syracuse only cover Syracuse. And even to that effect, they cover Syracuse men's basketball and football. They don't cover women's basketball. They don't cover softball. They don't cover volleyball. They don't cover Lemoyne. They don't cover OCC. They don't cover Oswego. They don't cover Binghamton. They don't cover Cortland. They don't cover Cornell. They don't cover Ithaca. They don't, I mean, and so on and so forth. And so people were like, why would you do that? Like, why are you constantly building? And then I look back on this and say, if I didn't start covering East Carolina just because I felt like it years ago, I wouldn't have had all of these like great opportunities created that I could bring to my client, Brooklyn Pickle, and say, hey, you can sponsor this thing because you're down in North Carolina and I cover East Carolina. So now I'm going to attach you to that video. I never knew I was going to work with Brooklyn Pickle. I never knew that East Carolina was going to amount to anything that could help in a partnership. But all that stuff comes together because of a decision that I made, where God in the background is going, I already know what I'm going to do with this. I already know how I'm going to use this decision. So I feel like if we all kind of reflect on our lives and look back, it's easy to see over time. Well, it might be a little hard to see, but if you reflect back on your life and you reflect back on all of these decisions that you have made, that you thought were like your decision in the moment and your decision alone, and you look back on your life and you see what God has done with that one tiny decision that has now become this massive mountain, you would see that there is a divine like guidance into what you do and how you're doing it. And you just have to trust it. You know, there was something that happened to me this year that I was really upset about, and it was unfair, and there was no merit. There was no reasoning that was logical and rational, and it was hurtful. I fought it, and I didn't get what I want, and I fought it again, and I didn't get what I want, and I fought it again, and I didn't get what I want, and I fought it one more time, and I didn't get what I want. And then I said, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for myself. Where else can I go? And I applied to another place. And when I applied to that place and let go of the other one, instead of sitting in the hurt and sitting in the pain, my mother said something to me. My mother said to me, she said, I know that you want this thing to work with this company, but it's not working. And you have done everything that you could do. You've been rational, you've been logical, you've given them reasons, and they just don't want to give you what you want. So you have to understand that in these moments in your life, when this has happened to you, God was trying to tell you, I don't want you here because I need you here. And she said, if this isn't working out despite all of the logical, rational things that you've done, if nothing is working in your favor in this area, that is typically in your life when God is telling you he needs you somewhere else and you just need to trust him. So then I focused on the somewhere else, and then another thing came about that had nothing to do with that thing. But if these things didn't line up, I couldn't be there. So it's funny how when something doesn't work out in our lives, we want to curse God, we want to blame God, we want to hate God, we want to yell at God. But I have seen very recently in my life that when somebody took something from me that I didn't deserve to lose, God used that moment to go, great, now that he's not focused here, he'll open his mind up to other things. And these other things that he opens his mind up, he has no idea the blessing I'm about to put in his life. And the blessing I'm about to put in his life has to do with the directional change that I'm creating. So in the beginning, I'm like, I can't believe this organization did it to me. What mean people? I can't believe it. When God was in the background laughing, saying, Daniel told me his plans, and I thought it was hilarious. And when I look at what he did, the longer that I'm away from that organization and the more that I focused on doing other things, the more I've realized that I am completely fine with what's happened because God was moving me. And he was moving me into a place and an environment that was creating opportunities for me to be ready for a blessing that I didn't even know was coming. So, I look back on my life within these last few months and I go, if this thing didn't happen that I perceived as bad, I wouldn't have changed my focus to be here. And as I'm changing my focus and doing all this stuff, I had no idea that there was this blessing that he was about to bring me. And the blessing that he brought me is down the street from the place that I redirected to. So when people say that God is not working in your favor, you don't know God. God is forever working in your favor. What does God say? I have plans for you, not to harm you. I have plans. I want to get the exact quote. So that I can say this right. So it is the Bible, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. That reality for I know the plans I have for you. That's God speaking to you. I know my plan. You don't know my plan, but I know it. And I plan to prosper you and not to harm you. To give you hope and a future. To give you hope and a future. The two things I've been afraid of. Hope and a future. And God says in the Bible, that's a good thing. I have plans to give you hope. I have plans to give you hope. And I have plans to give you a future. But you have to allow me to guide you to that place. You have to allow me to get you there. Because if I focused on the things that if I stayed in areas where I really knew I wasn't happy and I didn't want to be, none of these things would have happened. If I focused on, there's that reality that said God can't give you what he wants to give you if you have in your life something that is not for you, that you have to give that up in order to get your blessing, that you can block your own blessing. That God can be like, hey, I want to give you this present, but you're sitting there holding on to another one, and he's like, you got to let that go. God can't give you the present if you're focused on the past. God can't give you a future if you're focused on the past. God cannot move you forward. I'll put it to you like this. So I love Lily. Lily's my daughter, my little puppy, right? So I wasn't ready to get a dog. And I waited 2 years. And then I was open to it. And I met this lady who said she would give the dog up. Something inside of me was open to getting a dog, but this dog didn't feel right. I couldn't describe it. I couldn't explain it. The person that I was with at the time, she wanted this dog. But something inside of my gut was going, this isn't the dog. And something inside of my brain, something in my head was pulling me, going, this is not good. There was like a dark cloud over it. And this woman said, I'm going to give you the dog. Then she gives us the dog. And as she's giving us the dog, she says, I want to take the dog back. I'll give you your check back. I want to take the dog back. I changed my mind. And it was a really surreal and strange moment, but something inside of me was like, this is not your dog. So when I gave the dog back, it was a really weird moment with this woman, but it wasn't a moment that I was upset about. It was a moment I was okay with. And so I was like, okay, it's fine. Now, go with me on this. I waited 2 years to be open to getting a dog. Then I meet this woman, and something inside of me goes, this is not my dog. So I wait 2 years. I meet this dog. She wants it back. I give the dog back. I'm sitting in a parking lot one day, and I say, I'm ready to get a dog. And I look online, and I have no idea where to look. And I look online at the places to get dogs that are hypoallergenic. And the first name, something inside of me said, don't go there. So I go to the second place. And it's called Dan's Kennels. And I call them up and I say, if I leave right now, I'm going to get there at 5:28. You close at 5:30. I don't want to drive all the way out there if I'm going to keep you guys. I don't want to make you guys stay open. I don't want to disrespect you. And I also don't want to drive out there if you're going to be closed. They said, no, come out. I drove out there. I see 40 dogs. There's 2 dogs per kennel. I see a dog that's technicolored. So the person that I was with, she goes, how do you know what dog to choose? There's so many. And again, divine intervention, an idea comes into my head I never thought of before. And out of my mouth comes, look for the dogs that aren't barking. So there's 8 of like the 40 some odd dogs in there. There's 8 that aren't barking of the 44. And I turn and I look to my right and I see a dog that's technicolored, which reminded me of my dog Shady, who was a soft-coated Wheaton. And I said, is that a Wheaton? They said, no, it's a Havanese. I said, are they hypoallergenic? They said, yes. And this dog comes out and looks at me. Or I looked at this dog. This dog looked at me. They grabbed onto the kennel bars. They pulled themselves close and they looked at me through the bars. And I said, can I see that dog? They said, sure. And I pick her up and she looks at me. She licks my neck, puts her head on my shoulder. I play with her. I put her in the pen. I get out of the pen and my body's out of the pen except for my left leg. I pick my left leg up. She's totally fine. I put my left leg down. The moment she saw my full body out, the dog starts crying. I go talk to the guy about the dog and I say, okay, what do I do now? Do I put this dog back and look at another dog? And my ex looked at me and she goes, what do you mean? And I said, you want this dog? And I picked her up and I was like, okay. And then I'm driving home with her. She's on my chest, hugging me most of the way ride home. I'm trying to name her. And out of nowhere, I say, what about Lily? And she looks at me. And I said, do you want to be called Lily? And she looks at me. And I said it a third time. And I said, okay, well, you've chosen your name. And something inside of me. And then my ex said, Lily with 2 L's at the end or 1? And I said 1 L, like the flower. And I said 1 L, we're not maniacs. And that was it. But think about that. I needed 2 years to heal from Shady having passed. I wasn't ready to get a dog. If I had been ready at any time before that 2-year mark, I never would have met Lily. If that lady never gave me the dog and then took it back, I never would have met Lily. If I didn't sit in that parking lot and determine that I was ready and look up those places and not want to go to the first place and trust my gut to call Dan's Kennels, I never would have met Lily. If I went into that room and didn't say in my head, look for the dogs that aren't barking, I never would have met Lily. So when people say that everything happens by coincidence, there's no way that that string of events happens all by mistake. Because the new Havanese litter, they had just gotten Havanese in. And I had no idea what they were. But I was willing to come out and meet and see. And when I looked at the dogs, I wasn't looking for a Havanese. I was looking for a Wheaton or something that maybe I knew. And when I looked at Lily and thought she was a Wheaton, they're like, no, she's a Havanese. Think about everything that had to happen in order for me to get the dog that I love dearly now as my daughter. So be yourself. Listen to yourself. Trust your gut. And when you ask God to guide you and guard you, and he doesn't give you the answer you want, you can keep repeating yourself, and God's going to keep repeating the message. When you say, God, guard me from what you don't want for me and guide me to what you do, you have to pay attention to what he's doing. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future, end quote. We focus so much on the men and women that didn't want to date us, the people that said no when we asked them to prom, the bosses that said, you're not worth hiring. But without those men and women saying no to dates, without those friends that walked away, without those jobs that didn't work out, we wouldn't have made the decisions to create the atmosphere that we have today. So ask God to guide you, ask God to guard you, and don't be afraid of the answer. Just be yourself. We'll take a step aside for a final fast break. We'll be back right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop, and you can find them by going to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. Find your way over to GG Cards and Breaks, whether you're a hockey fan, a soccer fan, basketball, baseball, football, if you like Disney Lorcana, if If you're a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, whatever you enjoy or whatever you're open to, GG Cards and Breaks has something literally for everybody. And all different ages go in there. What I love is I see people go in there with their kids. And I'm 39 years old, and my mom will still go in there with me, just like she did when I was a kid. She'd bring me into the card shop. She goes, Dan, pick a pack. And she'll pick, and I'll pick a pack, and she'll go, okay, this is the one. And then she'll buy the pack. She'll hand it to me. And before she hands it to me, she rubs the pack for good luck. And she goes, here you go, son. I hope you get something good. So those memories and those times, you can start building those memories today. You can start doing those things today. And I implore you to do that. You might think that a sports card or a trading card is just a piece of cardboard. But to me, it's such a big part of my life. It jogs my memory. I can look at these cards in my studio and tell you who gave them to me and when they gave them to me. And that's crazy. I can't tell you what I had for lunch sometimes, but I can tell you where I got these cards from. And GG Cards and Breaks, led by Josh and Anthony, they just care so deeply. They care so much, and they work so hard. And I just value tremendously the work that they do. It means so much to me. And I have to thank them, because there's sports card and trading card shops, and then there's GG Cards and Breaks. And you know that I don't make any light decisions in my life. If I choose something in my life, it's because I really genuinely care about it and I value it. And GG Cards and Breaks is a place that I choose. It's a place that I care about. It's a place that I enjoy. And I believe that if you've never been there, you should give it a shot. And you should give yourself an opportunity to make a memory with yourself or make a memory with one of your loved ones. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, I want to thank Avicolli's for the ingredients to success, talking about being yourself. And I want to let you know that you should go to Avicolli's tonight. You should get some dinner there tonight, because it's dinner and a show tonight. Tonight, we have the opportunity of bringing you something really, really cool and a lot of fun. And that opportunity that we're going to bring you at Avicolli's is the Liverpool boys soccer team is going to be with me on site on location. Every month we go to Avicolli's and we do a Liverpool Warriors broadcast. And Wake Up Call will be there tonight, October 29th at 5:30 p.m. with the Liverpool Warriors boys soccer team, Paul Bonus, and the student athletes. Come to the pizza side, grab some dinner, support the kids. Tonight at 5:30 on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, right down the street from Liverpool High School, which you can literally see at Avicolli's. I want to thank you for listening on YouTube, watching and listening on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. And of course, I want to thank you for being on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com, connecting here with the show. I can't thank you enough for being a part of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. It means the world to me. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Once the shows go live, they hop into the archives, and you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Make sure you follow us, subscribe to us on these channels so that you never miss an update when we put new shows, new episodes up for you. Big time thanks to Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina. Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, down the road from Pinehurst Golf Courses. Go and visit them today. And many thanks to all of our partners in Central and Upstate New York. Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Servomation, reinventing, reinvigorating, and reimagining what it means to have vending in your schools, in your stores, in your hotels, in your any place of business. Servomation.com. Find out how cool it is to have this vending, and just like the level of product, the variety of product, the quality of the product. I toured one of the facilities, and they have a massive kitchen. They got a chef in there cooking and making all this stuff that I never thought would be in a vending machine. So make sure you check them out today at servomation.com. Mother's Cupboard, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicolli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, Fire Pit Barbecue and Saloon, Chick-fil-A Cicero, GG Cards and Breaks, Brian's Landing, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins every Wednesday during Dolphin Time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, where we dive into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. You can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell. You can also find our Lemoyne playlist. And you can also find the Dolphins by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com and Fins Up. The Bryant Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats in what we call the Bobcat Buzz every single month on Wake Up Call exclusively, like today with Shawn Peake of the baseball team, their head coach. Men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports are all here with you, putting a spotlight on Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse, a unique experience and a unique atmosphere inside of the USCAA instead of the NCAA. So there's more opportunity for student athletes, and you can definitely get more information by going to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. You can go to both of their campuses right outside of downtown Syracuse, up the road on James Street, and you can also find them right off of Route 57 in Liverpool, across from Avicolli's for their other campus for Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse. Find them on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the BSC Syracuse playlist. They're also on wakeupcalldt.com on the homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. And as I said before, for more info, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single Tuesday during Bearcat time, like today, at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, as in our special with Neel Bhattacharjee, the women's soccer head coach at Binghamton University, who will be hosting a playoff game in the America East quarterfinals this Sunday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Moments with Marshall dives into the wonderful behind-the-scenes look at Binghamton University with athletics director Gene Marshall. The Bearcat Breakroom gives you the stories of student-athletes, coaches, and administration, including today's with Neel Bhattacharjee. And they're with us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. They're also with us on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist. You can also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on today's show, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com is what's poppin'. I want to thank my incredible guests, Shawn Peake, in this edition of the Bobcat Buzz, head baseball coach at Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse, Neel Bhattacharjee of Binghamton University, the women's soccer head coach, and I want to thank Avicolli's for the ingredients to success. Find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. And of course, you can also see us tonight by coming to Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Down the road from Liverpool High School, you'll find us tonight, October 29th at 5:30 p.m. with the Liverpool Warriors boys soccer team. I look forward to seeing you all out there. As always, God bless, no stress, do your best. Be yourself. Stop trying to blueprint your life and just live in the moment.